say it's the end, but it's only the start. This cold world is gonna get hot. There ain't no shepherd, cause we're all black sheep, and the story's just getting to its plot. We've been going through these changes, for better or for worse. Come together contradictions, when separating is a curse. One world, one race. Is that supposed to be a saving grace? No color, no creed. Then tell me why can't this be? We're up in arms, you ask why. Why can't these people ever get along? And then you hear the battle cry as everybody sings their freedom song. One world, one race. Is that supposed to be a saving grace? No color, no creed. Then tell me why can't this be? Na 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 na. We've all got an answer for what is and what should be. Segregation is the cancer upon which our anger feeds. One world, one race. Is that supposed to be a saving grace? No color, no creed. Then tell me why can't this be? One world, one race. Is that supposed to be a saving grace? No color, no creed. Then tell me why can't this be? Na 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 na. Why can't this be? Whoa, whoa. Then tell me why can't this be?
So that's a song called One World from Davy Watson, who joins me now in the studio. Davy, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Robin. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Okay, now there's not many musicians who can say towards the start of their career they toured with people like Phil Lynott and Bob Geldof, but you did, didn't you?
I did, yes. I opened for Bob Geldof when the Boomtown Rats came and did their very first big concert, outdoor concert. There was a bit of controversy around it because they had to wait for 2 weeks. It was supposed to be at Dalymount Park and they had to wait for 2 weeks over contractual insurance and whatever. But they eventually got, I believe it was league slip, and we were the opening band for their show. So I was playing with a band called the Male Caucasians at the time, and we were all young guys and got that opportunity. But then I later went on, a few years later, to support Philip Lynott on his Irish tour as a solo. He was bringing out Solo and Soho record.
Right, yeah.
And I've met him a few times, and he said, look, if you put a three-piece band together, you're very welcome to come out and support me. So we did a handful of gigs around Ireland with him.
In the 1980s, you ended up in LA then as well.
Yes. I remember at the time, it was about 82, I remember at the time thinking, well, music scene, New Romantics were now in, and I was really getting into, through being with the Bogey Boys, really getting into ZZ Top and Joe Cocker were my favourites at this point. I just went, I didn't know anybody, I arranged a date and went to America. I went to California. I arrived and I had one phone number to call. I called it and there was no answer on the other end, so I just followed my nose more or less. But yes, I went on to have a career in America.
And of course, as the 80s progressed, there was this great rock scene in LA, wasn't there?
Oh, very much so. You know, I was more interested in, like I say, Ray Charles and Joe Cocker and the California sound.
Yeah.
Tom Waits, Ricky Lee Jones was out at the time. Chucky Wise, he wrote a song about him. And that sort of hangover from the 70s and the troubadour scene in West LA. But then lo and behold, along comes all this leather and lace and long hair. And I had long hair at the time too, but I kept being associated with these guys, you know, and it really wasn't my scene, to be honest. This was sort of like a metal thing now. But it did bring with it a lot of rock and roll. And I worked through that and played. I was playing with more eclectic bands, you know. I was into Little Feat, sort of funk, or not any particular genre. You take the work where it comes when you're working in LA, so you would take the gigs that are there, you know.
And you ended up working with Madonna at one stage as well, didn't you?
I did, yes. Madonna made a record, Bedtime Stories, and there were no musicians on the record at all. It was all programmed, and it wasn't as if Madonna saw me and so I have to have this guy on the record. It was out of necessity, really. A friend of mine was engineering the record, and there were some samples being used on the record, and one particular sample, Earth, Wind and Fire sample. So my job was to come in and emulate that sample, which I did. I went in and emulated it, and sadly I didn't meet her.
Right.
She waited to meet me, and by all accounts is very hands-on in the studio. But I was caught there was an accident on the freeway, and I was about, I don't know, half an hour late. And she had waited as long as she could because she wanted to meet the only musician that was going to be on the record. But I got a thank you note from her, and yeah, that was it. You know, I went and did that recording.
Now we've got to talk about the 31st of August this year, because you're playing the Ulster Hall. Not just any gig, but you've got the Ulster Orchestra backing you. How did all this come about?
Well, it was a surprise to me. Playing around Belfast, I was approached one afternoon by the managing director of the orchestra, Richard Wigley. He approached me and said, "Davy, I've heard you a couple of times now." He says, "I like what you do. Here's my card. Maybe we can do something." Right away, it became apparent that this was, you know, not only an opportunity for myself, but it was meant to be. Richard explained to me that the orchestra is trying to do an outreach to communities and a project called On Your Doorstep. So the idea being that they would bring the orchestra to your neighbourhood, per se.
Yeah.
And to try and entice people to come and listen to them who maybe thought that, you know, this is too highbrow. They wouldn't really, you know, they would feel uncomfortable listening to an orchestra. They're not supposed to be there. Now, at the same time, I studied in Trinity music and media technology, which I did a master's there, and it incorporated contemporary classical music. So some of the students, my fellow students, colleagues, were composers, and I would hear them about them getting commissions and doing their concerts. And it always seemed like a closed door, closed shop. You know, you would go to come in, it would be in a certain venue, and it would all be word of mouth. And I said, well, why don't you guys advertise this in the back of a tabloid? And so when Richard said he wanted the project On Your Doorstep was about bringing it to the people, I was like, great. And he also said that we're going to work across different genres. And he heard me as a sort of blues, soul, rock singer, which I suppose comes under the rhythm and blues. It's a challenge. While it's flattering, it's also, I'm aware that it could go really south and it could sound cheesy. So we've been working, I've picked songs that I feel suit, and one of the challenges they want is for me not to write music towards orchestration, that they want to meet me halfway and act like an R&B orchestrator, if you will. So that's really the idea behind the project. You know?
So when people come to see the gig, this isn't a little spin-off group from the Ulster Orchestra. This is the full 60-piece orchestra, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have an opening act as well called Gormica. Gormica have a 20s, 30s sort of old American blues flavour, but they also incorporate boron and an Irish girl singing, right, and Dermot Rooney playing a resonator guitar. So it's got this sort of like undertone of Irish.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's they have a lovely sound, so they're going to open the show.
So once you finish then with the Ulster Orchestra, what's the rest of the year got in store for you?
I really want to bring out a record now, a CD, an album. Not all of the songs I'm going to play with the orchestra, have other material and songs that weren't appropriate for the EP. So I want to put those on an album, and that'll be released early next year, and then I'm going to take a band out on the road. So that's what next year holds.
Great. You're going to do one more song before you go. What are you going to do this time?
Yes, I'm going to do a song called Prayer for the Lonely. It's not about the plight of the homeless, but it's just about homeless people, which is sadly always in our news today. You know, it's actually a crisis. But it's also about, you know, it comes to mind. I'd see neighbours and lonely people putting on a brave face, and when they close the door, really. So it's being aware of that. Yeah, Prayer for the Lonely.
Well, Davy, thank you for joining us, and the very best of luck with the Ulster Orchestra gig.
Thank you so much for having me on, Robin. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks a million.
There's a cold wind blowing, she's alone. It's late at night, she's far from home. There's no one to comfort her and hold her tight, no. There's no one to love her and tell her it's alright. So say a prayer for the lonely people. Say a prayer for you and me. It's well said, stormy water, no silent lambs will lost at sea. Joe lives next door. It's been a long time. When I shake his hand, he says he's just fine. But I look in his eyes and I can see his soul. It's crying out for someone with whom he'll go. Say a prayer for the lonely people. Say a prayer for you and me. Well said, stormy water, no silent land, we're lost at sea. Yeah, no, no. Oh, yeah. No, no. Yeah. There's a cold wind blowing, times have changed. You put on your coat just to hide the pain. There's so many people with nowhere to go, living in a land that's lost all its soul. Say a prayer for the lonely people. Say a prayer for you and me. Well said, stormy water, no silent land, we're lost at sea. lonely people say a prayer for you and me. We're sailing stormy water, no sun on land, we're lost at sea.